Hi, I'm Stuart from FabLab Maker Hub. We're a Fab Lab based in Leitrim in the west of Ireland. And for this Dublin Maker video today, what I thought I'd do is take you through using 3D modeling in VR. We recently got a Oculus Quest 2 VR headset, and there's a great application that allows you to do 3D modeling in VR. It's called Gravity Sketch. This is the kind of standard environment that you find yourself in Gravity Sketch. This is the sort of like the creation studio. It's a virtual warehouse complete with dirty windows for you to do your modeling in. Now, I've only really been using Gravity Sketch for a couple of weeks, so I'm no expert, but what I thought I'd do is try and take everybody through how you can use Gravity Sketch to maybe 3D model some characters. It's more of a sculpting style 3D modeling program. So if you're used to 3D modeling on a computer on, say, like Tinkercad or applications like Fusion 360, this is a bit more kind of sculptural. So something more akin to, say, like Blender or Cinema 4D or one of those packages. But what I'm going to try and do is model a kind of a cartoon character and then take that and 3D print it on one of our 3D printers here in the lab. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new sketch. Discard my current session. There we go. And I'm going to go to my settings and I'm going to turn on a couple of settings that I'm going to need for this. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work in what's called mirror mode. So basically anything I do on one side is going to be mirrored on the other, which is useful when you're creating, say, characters, because, you know, faces and bodies are typically kind of symmetrical. The other thing I'm going to do is turn on our vertical lock. There's a few other preferences here that might be useful. Input smoothing is probably okay, default. There are different workspaces as well. So this is, like I say, there's kind of the default one, and there's kind of more kind of basic workspaces that you can have, just a kind of standard grid. I think I prefer the environment. It makes it feel a much nicer place. Okay, so that's all the settings we really need to change. If I look at my controllers here, I've got two controllers, right hand, left hand controller. Your right hand controller in Gravity Sketch is what's known as your drawing hand. This is what you actually use to do your drawing. And then your left hand is what's called your non-drawing hand. And this basically kind of controls your selection of objects and menu items. So I can bring up the menus and things like that. So if I click on the purple button, that brings up my kind of palette of tools. And then I can select what tool I want here. So you have like ink, strokes, revolve, surfaces, volumes, and then down the bottom you have primitive shapes. I'm going to select primitive shapes. You have a whole library there of just your basic shapes. And again, if you're kind of used to Tinkercad, this is very similar to the basic shapes that you get in Tinkercad even. One thing that this has that Tinkercad doesn't have is this thing here, which is called subdivision object. And if you've done any kind of modeling in something like Blender or Cinema 4D, then you understand what subdivision object is. This is a way of taking a surface and dividing that surface up so that you can then kind of do more sculptural type work with it. So we're going to be working in subdivision object today. So I'm going to turn on subdivision down there, and that's fine. So we can get rid of that and get rid of our tool palette. So now I've selected a square. If I press my trigger finger here, I can draw a square of whatever size I want. If I hold down the other trigger on the other controller, it lets me have much more fine control over the shape. I can make it more of an oblong shape. You can see there that it's mirroring whatever I'm doing on the other side. So I'm just going to create a kind of like a Minecraft head style block. So there we go. So now we have it and I can turn around and look at the object. Again, I'm just sitting down, but if I want to sort of move my head around, I can move my head and even put my head inside the objects and see inside them if I want to. If I select an object, the way I can select an object is you have this sort of ball that surrounds your drawing hand. If I touch on it, you notice it highlights in red, and then I can use my grabbing hand and I can move that around. So now I can move the objects, pick them up and move them around wherever I want in 3D space. What I'm going to do is position them kind of close to each other, but then I'm going to go into the editing mode, and you enter editing mode by pressing the blue button on your non-drawing hand there. So now that brings up a new menu for me, and you notice it's put points on the corner of the object. Again, if you're familiar with Tinkercad, you're very familiar with these kind of nodes on the corners of objects to make them bigger or smaller. At the moment, we're in subdivision level off. If I turn on subdivision, you notice that it kind of makes the object much more sculptured. And if I grab one of these, I can kind of pull them out like that. And if I turn the subdivision level up and up and up, it turns it almost into a sphere there. For the moment, I'm going to turn subdivision off because what I want to do is join these two objects together. So if I grab the bottom corner there and bring them together, you notice they snap together. And then they have a little kind of like locked icon to show that they're locked together. So now those are all locked together, and anything I do on this side will be mirrored on that side. So if I move these ones here, it moves it, hitting my headset, and that moves there. What you didn't see there, or what happened there, was I actually created a new node by clicking on the line. So again, similar to creating extra nodes in a kind of a drawing package or whatever. So if I turn subdivision on again, it makes the object much more kind of like sculpted and much more kind of human-like. So what I'm going to do, though, is just get the basic geometry of a head here. So, and I'm going to get rid of my menu, and I'm going to turn this around and just basically pull these out here and kind of create a kind of a head shape like that. Coming up there, pull that down there. That's looking okay. Maybe bring that down there a bit more like that. This is going to be a kind of an alien head. It's not really that human-like, so I'm not really too worried at the moment exactly what it's looking like, but that gives us the basic shape. If I go back to my menu and now I turn on my subdivision, I'm going to keep it kind of a bit blocky. That's looking okay, but really I don't have enough nodes or geometry here to be able to kind of change the look of it significantly. I can kind of pull things out here, or if I drag stuff, I can kind of drag it like that. Let's have a look. What I really need is some extra geometry to sort of give me much more fine control. So if you notice on my right drawing hand, at the moment, all of the kind of pyramid bits are selected in blue. If I just move those to the left, I can either select it so that only the nodes are affected, or I can do it so that only the actual vertices are selected, or I can do it so only the surfaces are selected, or I can use what's called the Smart tool, where it kind of depends upon where I move the controller. So what I'm going to do is just go to the vertices, and I'm going to use the trigger button here on the front to add in extra vertices. If I click here, that's going to add in a vertical one. If I click there, it's going to add in a horizontal one. So I just want to add in a few extra vertices on this, so that I've got much more control over how it's gonna look. There we go. And then if I add another one in under here, that's probably good. And we can start pulling things out. Now you notice as I'm pulling things out here, and I'm sort of scaling up and down to kind of like look and see exactly how things are. I'm not actually scaling the object. Literally all I'm doing is kind of like zooming in and out, like you would zoom in and out on a Word document. If I want to scale the actual object itself, I'm going to have to come out of edit mode and just scale the object. But for the moment, I can just use the kind of the zoom tool just to see how I'm doing. Now, if you see in my drawing hand here, if I change the size of the selection, then it's selecting much larger objects. What I'd really like to do, though, is be able to kind of give much more fine control, and I'm able to do that if I bring in another. This gives me what's called an area of interest, and it lets me basically just anything in between the two sort of circles there will be affected as I come. It allows me then to have much kind of finer control over what I'm doing. So if I go in here now, if I'm selecting now, I'm actually able to give much kind of finer control over what I'm doing. Let's have a look here. What I want here is kind of a bit more of a sculpted look there, like that. Maybe bring the kind of eye sockets out a little bit. Maybe bring the nose down a bit, like that. Maybe bring the head up a bit at the back there, like that. That's looking a bit more kind of an alien head-like. And then maybe bring the back of the head down there. Also, what I'm able to do is, if I have a region selected, I can use the joystick to kind of expand or contract the selection. So as you see there, I'm kind of expanding, bringing out the kind of eye sockets there, like that. There we go. That's good. Now, what I might need to do is just add in some extra geometry. So I'm going to go back to my vertices. I'm going to add in an extra line just there and another one there. You don't want to add in too many. I've found that you don't want to add in too much geometry all at once. Otherwise, it starts getting very tricky to manipulate. Although we might need, let's have a look. We might need to bring these down here. Bring all of this down here. If I just change the size there. I just bring the surfaces down. Yep, I'm kind of liking that. It's a bit kind of like frog-like. You can start seeing how it's gonna look. What I'm gonna just do is add in. Go back to just surface selection and lift it up and look underneath. I'm going to add in a neck here. So to do this, I'm going to need to just change my selection to surface, select the surface I want, and then I can grab the plus button and I can drag that down. And then if I press the plus button again, it's going to add in like an extra extension. And I can kind of change the shape of it, expand it out a little bit. There we go. So, and then maybe just kind of drag, use the expand button to just expand that out a little bit as well. Whoa, you can always go too far, too quickly. So just be careful as you are doing things. So let's have a look. See how our alien's looking. He's looking pretty good so far. Okay, well, I think it's time. I'm going to click OK, the tick button to finish editing. And now I have a kind of like alien head. What I want to do is just maybe change the color of him. To change color, you get this kind of color wheel, and you have different kind of materials. You have toon material, flat material, clay material. I'm going to select the toon material, and I'm going to make him green because he's a little green monster. There we go. Let's try. He's a little green man, like that. That's pretty good. Okay. Well, I'm kind of happy with that for the head shape. What I'm going to do now is go back to my menu, and I'm going to go down here to layers. At the moment, we're just working on a single layer, and I can turn the layer on and off, or I can change the opacity or the visibility of the layer, and I can also lock the layer in place so I can't sort of make any edits to it or change it accidentally. So I'm going to lock that layer, and it's going to tell me the active layer is locked. And I'm going to create a new layer, and we're going to be editing on a new layer. And this layer I'm going to call eyes. Okay, that layer we'll call head, just so I know what they are. So I'm going to be working on the eyes layer now. So get rid of my menu. So at the moment, I'm going to push him out of the way for a minute. I'm going to create some eyes that I'm going to push into his head. So I'm going to go back to my primitives, and I'm going to create a sphere. And again, I'm going to make sure that I have the subdivision turned on. And I'm just going to create a sphere here. At the moment, it doesn't matter about the size. That's okay. Let's just change the color of that to be kind of a white. That's good. And then again, I'm just going to edit this using my subdivision. I'm going to be quite broad with this and just kind of push it kind of in. Let's make that a bit of a bigger selection there. Push this in, make a kind of an eye socket type of. Again, we don't need to be too. That's quite good. There we go. That's good. And if I turn subdivision on and really ramp it up, you can see it's quite good. Underneath there, I don't need it to be quite so rounded. We can do that. Okay. Click OK to that. That's kind of a weird kind of eye shape. And you see I've got two of them here. So what I want to do is just scale that down. So I'm going to scale that down and then come and put the eyes there. In fact, let's turn him over. It looks kind of better like that, actually. It's one of those happy accidents. And let's put that there like that. Let's just get really close in just to have a look how it's going. Like that. Yep. That looks okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of good. Maybe push it back down a little bit more. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to draw another circle, another tiny circle, and I'm going to change the color of this one to be kind of maybe reddy kind of color. And again, I'm just going to scooch that down. I'm going to put that in there like that. I think he's looking more like Kermit the Frog now. Let's make that selection very small so that we can change that there like that. What I might also do is just select that one, just maybe make another one, maybe make a smaller circle here. Change the color of this to be white. Change the size of, oh, nope. Change the size of this to be teeny tiny. Like that. And just kind of put that in there just to give a bit of a highlight. There we go. That looks quite good. Okay. He's looking okay there. What I'm also then going to do is maybe do a kind of like a mouth, like a teeth. So I'm going to go back to my tools, and for that I'm going to use a volume. Now volume lets you kind of sketch a shape and then kind of extrude it. So I'm going to select point mode that lets me use actual points. I'm going to change the shape a little bit smaller there, like that. Get rid of my menu. So if you notice here, I can change the size of the actual thing up and down, and then I can change the selection that way. So I'm going to just start off with a kind of a small point here and just select kind of like one point, and you notice that it kind of drags out a strand like that, and drags out a shape there, maybe like that. To finish up, all I need to do is press the trigger in the other hand and it kind of cancels it. So now I have those. Again, I can kind of scale that down, and I'm going to put that maybe like the other way, turn it up around that way, like that, kind of a walrusy type of a thing, like that. Yeah, that could work quite well if we just angle that back in a little bit. And let's just zoom right in, just so we can get real fine control, like that. If we click this and then click that, we have our things. We can actually zap them together the way that we did the other one, like that. That's probably better for us. There we go. Turn that off. Click OK. Okay, let's zoom him down. He's a very strange looking alien. Oh, one thing I noticed here is I do need to angle that round a little bit more, just to sort of sit that in. There we go. Okay, he's looking a bit strange. Okay, what I'm going to then do is just put some kind of like tendrils coming over the back of his head. So again, I'm going to go back in here, and for that I'm going to use a stroke. For the stroke, I'm going to use a point mode and use that there. That's fine. Get rid of that. So I'm going to kind of turn around this way here, like this. Again, it's going to be kind of repeated, the kind of shape. What color will we use for those? Maybe use kind of a yellowy orange color like that. Okay. So I can kind of start off and I can just give him some sort of textured shapes just coming over his head, and then if I want to finish, I just press the trigger button. Whoop, didn't press the trigger button. There we go. Okay, let's turn him around, have a look. Give him a bit of a hairdo. I don't want to go too near the edge there. And I do want to just kind of keep it like that. There. And maybe one more coming round here. I want to undo that. To undo, we have a kind of a button that lets us kind of undo, which is the red button there. So I can undo that and just start again there. There we go. I think one more maybe. Yeah, one more. We'll go one more. Why not? Okay. And like that. Okay. There we go. He's looking a bit weird. He's looking very alien, I have to say. Not that scary. Although I wouldn't like to run into him on a dark night somewhere. So the next thing we want to do is go back to our layers. So we've got our eyes. So I'm going to lock that layer, go back to my head layer. Warning, active layer is locked. So I have to unlock the layer. That's the one thing I forgot to do, was even though I switched to the head layer, I forgot to unlock it. Okay, let's go back here. So again, I got my head here. What I want to try and do now is, again, just go back into, if I go back into edit mode. Go back into edit mode on the model. Just going to turn that on to another level of subdivision there, like that. Click OK and turn around. I want to bring this side out a bit more. So click him and edit him. And then what I can do, get rid of my menu, is if I press this button here, I have these different kind of tools. I can smooth, edge cut, I can kind of cut loops, crease things, and merge things together. So what I want to do actually is kind of like crease this side a little bit so that I might up the size of my selection. There we go. Just crease that a little bit more, just to make the kind of the cheekbones stand out a bit. That's good. And then change that there like that, just to make him a bit more squished. And change that there like that. There we go. Now that has kind of mucked up some of the geometry here. So what I'm going to have to do is go back in and probably go back into turn off the subdivision there, and just make sure that some of these points are in the right place. As you can see, this one here and this one has kind of got out of whack with each other. That one should be a bit more like that. Now if I turn that on, I can kind of see where my problems are lying, which is that node there, which needs to be out here a bit more. There we go. Click OK. He's looking a bit weird, but that's pretty good for an alien. So what I'm going to do is export this model. If I go back into my menu and go back into my settings, at the moment it's called Untitled. Well, I'm just going to call him, move him out of the way so I can type alien buddy. Alien buddy. Okay, so I'm going to save that sketch. At the moment, it's going to save it onto the cloud. The way Gravity Sketch works is you can save either to your headset or it will save up to the cloud. So because I'm going to be moving this to another application for 3D printing, I want to save it onto the cloud. The other thing I want to do is also export it. So when you go to export, it gives you the dimensions that you're going to be exporting it as. So for 3D printing, so I'm going to just change that dimension there. I'm going to make that 100, clear 100 millimeters. There we go. So it's going to be 100 millimeters high, so we're 10 centimeters high. And then I'm going to save it as an OBJ file. Export. And we're done. Delete. We've now exported that up to the cloud, so we can take our alien buddy and bring him into our 3D printing. Okay, so this is the Gravity Sketch website. From here you can download the app. If you have an iPad, it actually runs on an iPad. It also runs on the Oculus Quest, the Rift, and you can get it on Steam VR as well if you've got a sort of a bigger VR headset. Lots of tutorials and sort of info about Gravity Sketch on the website. It's a good website. What we're interested in is the landing pad. That's their cloud-based kind of storage. I have that open here on another tab. So this is essentially kind of like a Dropbox for all your Gravity Sketch. So anything you do in the headset, you save to the cloud, and then you can get access to it on your desktop machine. So here's my alien buddy. I can see here already there's a bit of a mistake there. I've left an object in it. So I'm going to download this. There we go. It's downloaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that into Tinkercad just to clean it up
so that I can 3D print it. So I have Tinkercad open here. Just going to create a new design in Tinkercad. I get a blank workspace. I'm going to import my file. I'm going to select choose file, go to my downloads, go to my Alien Buddy folder and open up my file. It says I need to select the scale, so this is millimeters, and it's going to import my Alien Buddy file for me. So now I'm in Tinkercad. I can see here, I'm just going to zoom out. Whoa, zoom out. I can see here that I have these things here that I accidentally left behind. So I'm going to need to get rid of these. And my model is kind of upside down. So I'm going to need to change that as well. So what I'm going to do is just grab a box that's a hole, and I'm going to grab that and just move that there, and duplicate that and move another one over there. So both of those pieces are inside the hole. I'm going to select everything and group them together, and that should get rid of those. There we go. Now that's good. So now I can zoom in. So what I want to do is just turn this up the right way, so I can do that. And let's turn him around to the front of the work plane there so that we can see him. What I want to do is cut off the bottom of the model so that it has a nice flat bottom, so that when we're trying to print it on our 3D printer, we have a flat bottom to go onto the print bed. So again, what I'm going to do is just grab a box and place it here like that. And I'm going to move the box underneath the work plane like that. What I might actually do is just move him up a bit though, just so I got a bit more of a flat bottom. Just make sure it's right in the middle there. You can look down on him and have a look there. That looks pretty good. Might move him up a little bit more, just so that we've got a nice big flat bottom there. That's pretty good. Okay, select both of those, group those together, and now we have a model with a flat bottom that sits on the print bed. So all that's left to do now is export this as an STL file. It's going to call it Brilliant Inarari Crunk. That's the one that we're going to need to look out for. So I'm going to be printing this on our Ultimaker 2 in a kind of a light grey PLA. So I'm just going to import Inari Crunk. Open that up. Zoom in here and have a look. So the red areas on the model there are showing us where it's going to have trouble printing because there's an overhang. So I'm going to need to put supports on for this model. One thing I'm going to do first though is I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to scale it up. At the moment the height wise is 92 mil. I'm going to change that to 120 mil. Just scale him up a bit, make him a bit bigger. Coming over to our settings here, the quality, I've just got it set 0.15 millimeters. It should be a good quality for us. So the next thing I need to do is just enable supports. I'm going to enable tree supports. Tree supports will be better with something like this, because it should be able to generate the supports without affecting the actual surface of the model, because the trees on the supports should be able to travel up the outside of the model without actually touching it. One thing I will do though is put a brim on that will help the supports stick to the bed a bit better. Okay, once I've got that, I can click on the slice button and it's going to slice it for me. Okay, I'm just going to preview that now. Click on the preview button so you can see the tree support sort of flowing up around the model. and just being able to support it there. So I'm just going to have a look at the layers. Now that infill is quite large. I could probably get away with using a lower infill. So I'm just going to change the infill here. It's set to 20% at the moment. I could probably get away with, say, 5% infill. That's looking better. Okay, so now all I need to do is save that onto my memory card and bring it over to the printer. So this is going to take 7 hours to print.
So this is our Ultimaker 2 3D printer. The filament's all loaded in at the back and the bed's leveled, and all I need to do is put in the card, go to my settings here, go to print, you can read the card, just need to find the file, where is it, Brilliant in RE, click OK, so this is going to heat up, our nozzle comes to the front there and it starts heating, and then once it starts heating it will start printing. Okay, so it's just starting to print now. Have a look from the top down. So it's going to print the brim first, which is the kind of base that it's going to sit on. Looks like we're getting a good kind of first layer there, which is always good. Quite nice. Okay, we'll let that go and we'll come back in a little while and see how it's getting on. So our model's done, and we can see the kind of tree-like supports that have come up there. There's been a bit of an issue there, a bit of under extrusion going on, but the actual model itself looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks quite nice. So all we need to do now is just peel off the supports. It should come away fairly easy. Just kind of snap them off really. Last bit around the back. A few straggly bits. And there is our model.